Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we'll be working on this all gold leopard offset tumbler. So I've had a lot of requests for this. It's a very simple process and I'm going to show you guys how I accomplish it. So at this point I've put down some Athena from Peachy Glitters and I've got 3 coats of Flynn Sisters epoxy over top of this. We are going to epoxy until completely smooth because we're working with a metallic vinyl. We want to ensure that there are 0 bumps because they will show and stick out like a sore thumb if it is not completely smooth. So we're gonna epoxy till smooth and then just buff out any remaining little bumps that you've got going on here. And then we're gonna use a 91% rubbing alcohol and a paper towel or a coffee filter, something of the sort, to wipe off all of that epoxy dust before moving into our vinyl work. Now that we've got a clean surface, we are ready to work on this vinyl. So this is the Bear Trends Fuzzy Leopard SVG. I will link that to Etsy below in the description box. So I'm gonna import that file and we're going to pull it into Cricut Design Space at 11.5 width and height. So it's gonna be a square file. And then we are going to use the Actions weld to weld this entire SVG together. And then once we've got that welded together, we will go into Actions Contour. And this is where we are going to kind of make a strip of leopard, if you will. I keep this as a whole project in Cricut Design Space because I use it so often. So I cut these at about 3.15 height by 11.5 width. That seems to work great for all sizes of tumblers. I use them on the skinnies, on the curves or the standards. So it seems to work great. I just keep it saved in here for use when I need it. So we're gonna contour out kind of a rectangle shape as best we can. And then once we've got the desired look for this strip of leopard print, we're gonna use the shapes tool and use the square and unlock the measuring tape, I guess I would say, to fit it around that leopard print. So once we've got the square around that leopard print, we're gonna just duplicate the leopard and then we'll attach it together. And this is gonna cut it out so when you're pulling the vinyl like this, you have some sort of separation between the strips of vinyl because it's very intricate. Here I am waving at you. It does tend to cling to the other strips and then you've got vinyl sticking to vinyl and it causes a huge mess. So it's not a requirement to do this. It's not like it's gonna not turn out if you don't do it. It's just easier if you're cutting them out on a big sheet of vinyl to kind of have some sort of separation between all of this excess vinyl that you're peeling off. It's just something I do and it's very satisfying to pull up. So anyways, once we've got the strips all set up in Design Space, we're gonna cut out the exact same shape, size, everything of vinyl. We're gonna put 2 strips of the leopard on the gold metallic and then 2 of the same size strips of leopard on just plain black vinyl. I will tell you guys, if you're using this metallic gold vinyl that I'm using, I do cut it out on adhesive foil matte in Cricut Design Space. It's a really kind of thick vinyl, and so if you're using just regular adhesive vinyl setting, it tends to not cut through to the bottom and it's a huge pain. So once we've got all of the vinyl weeded out, we are going to use transfer tape and put that over the metallic vinyl because that is what you want to be on the top layer. And I always stick my black leopard vinyl on a cutting mat because it tends to static cling and lifts up off the table and sticks to the gold vinyl that you're trying to lay down, and so it just causes a big mess. So making sure that that black vinyl is stuck to something is kind of key here, just to make sure that everything is placed correctly. So once we've got all of that in place, we're going to leave just a tiny, maybe like, I don't know, like 2 millimeters, I almost said milliliters, millimeters of black leopard as kind of a shadow or an offset on behind the gold, if that makes sense. I guess it's kind of easier to visualize than explain it. And then when you're peeling the transfer tape off the cup, I would recommend putting your transfer tape flat to the cup. So if you're not pulling up on the vinyl, it's not going to cause bubbles. So laying that transfer tape flush to the cup is the best way that I've found to kind of get that flawless metallic look without any lifting or anything like that. So I'll show you guys again when I do this second strip here, but we're just going to angle it on the cup as we see fit, and then press everything down, make sure it's all set in place, kind of fill in any gaps you'll see here, just readjusting things because I want it to come to kind of a clean point. I don't want any gapping. And also make sure if you're lifting spots and reapplying them that you are putting that shadow or that black vinyl in the same direction as all of the other ones. Otherwise, it's gonna stick right out and everybody's gonna know. Okay, just to recap, so we've got the black stuck to the cutting mat, we've got the gold on the transfer tape, and then we're gonna leave maybe a millimeter or 2 of shadowing behind the gold. We're gonna take the transfer tape, lift that, and apply it to the cup on the same angle as the first strip. So if you are not being cautious and looking at what kind of an angle you've got going on that first strip of vinyl that you laid down, when you lay the second one down and they kind of come together towards the top and the bottom, it's not going to be an even gap between the empty space that is kind of the glitter portion of that, if you will. So make sure that your angles are close to the same. And I don't, with this vinyl, like to kind of cut off the tops and bottoms that are overhanging because it's so thick, and because you've got 2 layers of vinyl, it tends to lift and then it causes problems. So I just cut those right off or pull those right off, and then I fit a piece of leopard spot into that space that I had just removed as a whole, so I don't cut any partials of any of the leopard spots, otherwise you're going to have lifting if you're not careful. After we've ensured that all of the leopard spots are completely laid down on the cup, we're going to go over this with a coat of polycrylic. I just let this air dry because it's metallic vinyl. I don't want to run the risk of using my heat gun and causing the metallic vinyl to bubble up. So I usually give that maybe between 20-30 minutes, depending on your temperature in your room, to let that air dry till it's dry to the touch. And then as long as you've set yourself up for success and you've got completely smooth epoxy, you don't have any lifting on your leopard spots, and depending on the viscosity of the epoxy that you're using, you can probably get away with using 1 final coat of epoxy. I just used 1 final coat of the Flynn Sisters regular setting artist resin as a final coat, and everything was completely smooth. I did make sure to spend some extra time around that handle to make sure I didn't miss any spots that were going to cure without a final coat of epoxy. But once that was cured overnight, this cup was completely finished and we were all done. So let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the bell button if you want to get notified of next weekend's tutorial, and I will see you guys next week.